Let me switch to another subject real quickly. Green Bay got torched. Their defense is not any good. We're talking about their offense is great, but they gave up over 500 yards, and afterward Aaron Rodgers is congratulating Phillip Rivers. Are we giving too much respect to Green Bay? They're coming here to play. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the game other than Tom Brady, but they're missing Jordan Nelson, and their defense hadn't been any good. So, yeah. I mean, talking about blowing up everything that Broncos are doing offensively, it would seem to me that Green Bay, which also has a bye week, they have to kind of blow up things defensively.
Yeah, and obviously they've had some good defensive performances, but you could also point to the opposition. Like they played San Francisco, they gave up 3 points. That's a good day by any stretch of the imagination. But San Francisco is not a very good team.
Well, the Broncos scored 31 points in a game on a road.
Yeah.
So,
and the other thing is also with Green Bay, 4 of their wins are at home, and historically there's a pretty big discrepancy between Aaron Rodgers at home, Aaron Rodgers on the road. He's very good on the road. At home, he's pretty much unbeatable and had that long streak without interception at home. So they've had the benefit of twice as many home games as the Broncos. And they've played against a comparable schedule. You can the criticism of the Broncos 6-0 start coming against shaky opposition. That same criticism can be made of the Packers, and they've had more games at home. So it's interesting how you don't have people suggesting that the Packers are a fluke, but that you have people suggesting that the Broncos. Now, one thing. I'll say this, I like the chip on the shoulder that is already there from the Broncos. And the guy who often had the chip on his shoulder is Chris Harris Jr. And he said today he said he's already watched 3 games of Packers film. And then yesterday, we were talking about takeaways, and I said, you guys have had a lot of takeaways, but Green Bay has only had 4 giveaways. Kind of my implication kind of being, okay, how do you keep that up against the Packers? And Harris's response was, well, have they gone against our defense yet? And I think that mentality is going to be pervasive on that side of the locker room. There's going to be a little bit of a chip on the shoulder saying, hey, people are dogging us for being 6-0, and maybe they'll come out and they'll play with a little ferocity on them first.
Nobody's going to listen to me, but I went to school at the University of Tennessee. Peyton Manning went to school. We're both historians. The Tennessee Vols, for about 40 years, were a defensive team. Till along came Peyton Manning and Todd Helton briefly and wide receivers and stuff like that. General Neyland, Bob Neyland, would run first down, second down, and kick on third down. I'm going to throw this at the 2 of you.
And that's why he's no longer the coach there, by the way.
Yeah, well, that and the fact he died. He can't coach dead. But is there the other way that you go with Peyton Manning, that we just all accept that he's not Peyton Manning anymore? Forget about switching, because you don't want to do that. Despite whoever brings that up, you're not going to do that. You're going to live or die with Peyton Manning. And the people who suggest otherwise are stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. So why not just punt back to them and not make mistakes, not give the ball away, not have Peyton throw 3 interceptions, that you just play defense? Because I keep hearing about, well, you want to keep the ball, you don't want the defense on the field. This defense wants to be on the field. You were just talking about it. They like winning games. They like being in the spotlight. They like being Pro Bowlers.
This is quite radical.
Well, why not just make sure you run the football? I'm just throwing this out there because we're throwing everything else out there. Why don't we throw that out there? Run the football, punt it. Your punter's having a good year, and play defense.
Well, I wouldn't go to that extreme, but I will say this. You guys both remember the 2005 season when Jake Plummer led the Broncos to the AFC Championship game. Remember how he went from throwing 20 interceptions the year before to something like 6 or 8 that year? and they called him No Mistake Jake because they dialed back the game plan considerably on offense to basically minimize his risk of error, knowing that, hey, in the parlance of John Fox, sometimes a punt wasn't a bad play because you had a very good defense that I think was ranked second or third in the league that year. So there may be something to throttling it back a little bit and going with a more conservative game plan on offense just to make sure you avoid those giveaways. Because right now, it's amazing. The Broncos still lead the league in giveaway margin. They still lead the league in spite of 7 interceptions in the last 3 games. Now that's obviously because the defense has managed to continue taking away the football. Imagine what that would be. I mean, the Broncos wouldn't just be tied for first; they'd be in the lead by a wide margin. You could just cut the giveaways in half.
Yeah, they're not fumbling the football. We'll say that, except for Norwood when you put it back there to return a punt. But they're not fumbling the football. I mean, at least that's one thing good. The running backs and the wide receivers are not giving the ball away unless it's Demaryius Thomas in that game in Kansas City where he tried to reach for a first down. That's really the most drastic offensive fumble that I remember in this season.
Andrew, you want to tweak things in the bye week. Do you tweak anything on defense, or do you just leave it alone, leave it as is?
Leave it as is, but you got to remind the guys, don't commit so many penalties, because you can look at half of the touchdown drive the defense has allowed this year. And they were set up by 15-yard penalties that resuscitated drives. You've got to find ways to cut out those mental errors. At the same time, you don't want the defense to lose its aggression. You don't want it to lose its edge, but just cut a few of the mental mistakes. And again, that's something, just being in the locker room a few minutes ago, that's something I heard over and over again. Got to cut the penalties. So I think the coaches have already been hammering the guys on that. And if they can do that, then they may well have a shutout in them at some point this year.